Lots going on in the political landscape, and we'll be talking to Sasha Starr and seeing if Kim joins us and others join us as well to see what's all happening in the political landscape. As a lot is taking place, as definitely the war is continuing in Iran, and of course things are continuing in other places as well. So we'll definitely be talking about that and seeing what folks have to say about a number of these things. I've got Sasha Starr with me, and I've got Kimberly with me as well. Kimberly was actually just finishing her special on the Epstein files and all along those lines. So that was the episode 3, and hopefully Sasha can join in future episodes as well. But yes, definitely some engaging conversation, and we hope other people will join in that conversation also. But what interesting things are you finding in the news, Sasha? I know you're following both what's going on in Ukraine because you did the Ukrainian show earlier today, as well as what's going on in Israel and Lebanon and all of the Middle Eastern countries. And of course, there's even conflicts in some of the African nations and Haiti as well. So, what are you finding out about the number of these conflicts, and what are you looking forward to our conversation today in terms of how you think Trump is doing?
Okay, I see at the present there are three wars going at the same time. One is Russia, Ukraine, another one is Israel against Iran, and another one US against Iran. Now, Israel has its own problems that it has to deal with concerning Iran. Iran was for so many years a real, not imaginary, but a real threat to Israel, especially if they were able to get nuclear weapons. So, and especially it was a very large conflict in June of last year between Israel and Iran, and there were a lot of missiles and drones unleashed against Israel, and there were considerable um, losses in population and buildings and infrastructure and so on. Okay, so Israel has some more or less justifiable reasons to start war, yeah, or continue the way you want to do it, doesn't matter, war against Iran. Now comes US. US, there are no immediate threats from Iran to US. It's obvious. There are no technical means to inflict any damage to US. So US, it's sort of war by choice. There was no other reason to start the war. It's choice. Choice. There are more and more information that the war was induced by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu on Trump, and just using a moment of being close to him, which I'm talking about precisely February 23rd, Monday, right before on Saturday the attack started. And it was US who informed Israel that is going to be a big meeting on Saturday, including Ayatollah Khamenei and his advisors and family and so on. And upon this information, Israel expressed an interest to start attack right there and kill all these top people of Iranians. So U.S. answered that they will join Israel in that war. So the funniest thing is that the real damage to Iran was inflicted by Israel, not US. Israel in the first hour or so of war, everybody, including Ayatollah and his advisors and family members, they were all killed right away.
Mhm.
So there was not even a point for US to enter the war because there was no one to be killed because most of these top people were already eliminated by Israelis. Anyway, US entered the war. So
Yeah.
now the question is that Trump is asking all his allies, NATO, European Union, to help him with the Strait of Hormuz to send their ships or their people or whatever it might be else. And the answer is no, it's not our war. You didn't consult us. You started the war yourself. Israel is your partner. Ask Israel for help. What do you want from us? So this is kind of a strange situation where United States, with all the formidable military machine, killing so many Iranians, including top people here and there, and continue to do so, there is no victory inside. Can Trump today stop the shooting and say, okay, enough is enough. We won the war. We are going home. He cannot do that because he will be perceived as a pussy. So he is not going to do that. So then what else? The Hormuz, Straits of Hormuz are locked. So there's 20% of world oil traffic is basically came to a halt, and it's unclear if and when and how it's going to be relieved the situation. I would like to ask you, Kim, if you think that indeed 20% of oil traffic is now gone, it's locked, it cannot be anyway penetrated anytime soon. But 80% of the world traffic is still going on. So what's the problem? Don't you think that it's a speculation of a world traders, oil traders, and speculators to get the prices to $100 a barrel and so on? Because in US, oil is in abundance from whatever we know. I don't know, maybe it's wrong, but it seems to me that US is self-sufficient. What's your opinion?
Well, so I learned from COVID when common sense told me that we kept pumping oil and gas, but we weren't using any, that we stockpiled a lot of oil and gas.
Do you
But
remember when
then,
oil game get down
right,
to zero?
exactly, exactly. But what happened was, as soon as we opened the doors, the gas prices went up a lot. I'm not going to say they doubled like what we're dealing with now, but they were a sticker shock. So when I went to Syria Week, which is next week, I'm not going this year because I just think it's a big risk,
Yes,
because that's where all of the world leaders, ambassadors, dignitaries, people who own oil rigs, because there's more to the industry than just Exxon and
yes.
BP. Pioneer being one of the biggest ones. So you're going to have, they gather once a year. I've been attending for 10 years, and I learned. I mean, I just point blank said the question. I said, why did the gas prices go up so high? And because you're blaming, they were all blaming Biden. Oh, it's Biden's fault. He wouldn't allow this. I said, because when I look at the common sense, and I went through my little speech, common sense tells me you got a plenty of oil. And the guy just laughed. It was the head of Exxon. He goes, "You're right." He goes, "We just wanted to pat our wallets a little bit." So
Yeah,
they
one of
made $19 billion to pad their wallets that year, among the spread of them 19 billion. So I learned then that all this stuff that goes on with the prices going up with gas and oil is, you want to blame the president, and part of this will be because of the war. But honestly, there's plenty of reserve, plenty. We never touched the reserve. In fact, they were selling it from COVID. So I believe that it's more than speculation. I think it's misrepresentation of what is happening. I think that they all are lying to us about it, but the government themselves don't know about the oil and gas and what is reserved and what isn't. They talk like they do, but I don't see any of I see some of the senators there
yeah.
at Syria Week, but I don't see them there enough to know, for them to know anything that comes out of their mouth is the truth. The truth is that we have a lot in reserve. The truth is it doesn't have to be as high as it is, but the real truth is this war was unnecessary.
Well, speaking of
It's
unnecessary,
We have
Sasha,
gas and oil spills in the ocean now in massive amounts. It's going to destroy the wildlife in the ocean. What they did is the most destructive thing, not just to our economy, not just to gas and oil or the regular trade. I've been hearing rumors that they have literally reduced the dollar value to zero. The US dollar has no more value in most countries now. They will not trade with our US dollar anymore.
Well,
So,
speaking of
that hurts.
yeah,
That
but
hurts.
speaking of that, and really quickly, and I was gonna bring up something that I found out that Sasha would be interested in. I'm sure he was already on top of it because I know he studies Canadian news and everything. But apparently, Manitoba, I think is how you pronounce it, but the Canadian premier there just accused Donald Trump of starting the Iran war to cover up the Epstein files. So he's actually saying that the reason that he started the war was to cover up the Epstein files, and this was from the province of Manitoba.
So you were all waiting for a premier of Manitoba to say the obvious thing. So great.
We're waiting for one per God. God has to tell us.
So now we remember a province of Manitoba. Who would ever heard about it? Never.
That's a good point. I mean, after some deep diving as well, we want to say that it might be covering up some of that, but there's some other things going on, like the crimes with ICE, which they are going head on right now. They've killed more people. Have you heard any news about it? No. You haven't. What you are hearing is the rhetoric coming from some of the senators and Pete Hegseth of, they killed 12 of our military boys. We have to get up. You have to get up and serve your country and get revenge on them for doing that to they killed our military boys. Well, a few of those were killed by accident. Iran didn't kill them, but that's what they're doing now. You need to fight for the president. You need to fight for those boys that were murdered by the Iranians. And that's stupid. That is just plain stupid. So I don't know what you think.
Somebody would have to ask, what is 12 people doing there? Why were there?
Yeah, exactly. Thank
it's
you.
Not even the war. Trump says it's a special military operation. He learned that from Putin because Putin doesn't call Ukraine war a war. He calls it a special operation. So Trump was learning. He's learning from his teacher, from Putin. And by the way, I've mentioned that on a Ukrainian show. And I would like to actually, I think this theory is getting traction. Because when you think who is a major beneficiary of this war, US, Iran, it's a Putin. So he lifted sanction against Russia. Russia can sail as much oil as possible at very high prices, get their pocket full for his war with Ukraine. But it's too little too late. Ukrainians are now attacking Russians like never before. They're taking the territories. They're killing Russians as much as never before. Last month, Russians lost 35,000 soldiers. It's not 12. It's 35,000, okay?
There's such a huge, and then you have Pete Hegseth saying, his address to the nation about the update of the war. And if you look at majority of his speech, he was whining about the coverage of the war. He didn't talk about the war that much other than we need more warriors. Where are our warriors? But he said, well, I was in media for a long time, so I know that they are just misrepresenting the truth. They're lying about this. They're fake news. And if I were them, here's a big tip, guys. Print the banner that says this, this, and this. Print the banner. And I'm like, just give us the update. How many people have died? How many areas have you bombed? Where are you going next? What are you going to do? How are we going to get away? Where's the update? But all he did was complain about the news coverage. And then he just let it slip. And everyone is abuzz about, David Ellison taking over CNN now. And, the bug eyes of all of the TV personnel is going, oh, my God. And then that would be horrible if David Ellison took over CNN. But this is what Hedge said. Once David Ellison takes over, then we'll control the news.
Oh, really?
So,
I want to tell you something. Right now, in nowhere in the major news in the United States, you've seen the information, which I said yesterday on one of the shows,
Mhm.
that the biggest, the largest military hospital in Germany, which is used for treatments of U.S. personnel, soldiers primarily, they are asking for blood. They need
yep.
a lot of blood.
Mhm.
Why do they need now? Not months before, months later. Now. They need a lot of blood. What do you think they need it for?
A lot of people are being shot, and I've been getting feedback from people behind, that are been deployed, families, and there are a lot of people being shot, a lot of people
Mhm.
being injured. They're not reporting on what's the reality of what's really happening. I know that your show represents a lot of what's going on in the war in Ukraine and Israel, and more people should watch it to stay up to date. I think that what we need to do is, Sasha, tell us, days and time is Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays and
Tuesdays,
Fridays.
Fridays at 11 a.m.
Tuesdays and Fridays. Sorry. Right. So I think that, and then get more people engaged in talking about it. We're going to start sharing this with other platforms live.
By the way, we have
So
also the
get
modern
more people
investing show.
engaged.
And on modern investing, we discuss politics almost probably 90% of the time because all your investments are based on what's happening with Iran. So what are you going to discuss when there is a Iran issue, Strait of Hormuz issue? If that's not going to be resolved, all the economy will go down the drain, and your stocks will go down the drain. There is nothing to discuss, therefore.
What is the impact of war on stock trading? It's huge.
Well,
Okay,
speaking of,
it's huge based on who's getting the contracts to, and that's the other question is where is all of our other weapons going to be coming from? Where's the manufacturing for that? But one of my curiosities, Sasha, and this is just like the wheel on the bus, right? Is and we're hearing this everywhere. Is you know Trump has opened up the door for Putin to sell gas. And of
Mhm.
course, he can sell at any price he wants, I guess. And so that's a lot of money for Putin. So that's going to be funding his war efforts. But then
Absolutely.
he, in turn, is funding Iran and giving them secrets about where Americans are so they can attack us. And so we got this wheel going on, right? And my question is, how true is it? And I think it's very true. I think there's a lot of truth to that. What is your
But he
thoughts?
was asked publicly about the help that Russia is providing to Iran. And he says, well, I don't know whether it's true or not. Even if it's true, it doesn't change anything or so on. So how this moron can say such things when Russia supplies the very exact information about whereabouts of American personnel, ships, embassies. Right now, I think it was in Iraq, in Baghdad, the U.S. embassy was completely destroyed. Who do you think provided all this information and help to get their
Thank you.
drones there and the missiles and all that stuff? So, in the meantime, Ukraine is fighting Russia, and Trump says, no more help to Ukraine. Nothing will go to Ukraine while I'm in office. And guess what? Ukraine is helping with drones and its technology to all these states in the region. U.S., he says that Zelensky is the last man that I'm expecting help from. I don't need his help. He doesn't understand, the idiot doesn't understand one thing. America can create probably better and more powerful drones. I don't dispute that. But Ukrainians have a huge data data that they collected in the last more than 3 years. So they show how the drones are getting to the skies, how they meet these drones, how they paralyze their movements and kill them and destroy them and so on. US doesn't have the database. They
No.
don't. They have to start from the scratch. And to create that database, you can only during the war, during the actual war situation. Not you cannot simulate it on computers or anywhere else. So therefore, Ukraine is undisputed leader in a drone technology, and except Trump, everybody understands that.
Yeah, everybody understand that for sure. They've been doing it for a while. Hey, Sasha, are you expecting us, since you do the investment show, to get up to $6 in terms of gas? Because there is another country that is an oil producer that's got its own troubles, and that is Nigeria, because apparently they've got some insurgents, and they just had to put down one of their attacks recently, and that's another oil producing nation as well. So they could the oil chain could be even further disrupted, and that could be another reason not to go to 0 week, Kim, and everything like that. So it seems like it's being disrupted in various parts of society.
I've heard that U.S. is self-sufficient in both oil and gas. Probably it's true. Now, if it's true, I don't see any reason why gas on gas stations is going up so rapidly. Because if U.S. has enough oil and gas, then except speculators putting money in their pockets, I really don't see any reason why gas would go to $5 or $6. Probably it will.
Oh, it
It
already
will.
has.
It
Like
already has in
diesel.
some states. Yeah.
Yeah, diesel is 5.99 in some places. I was traveling down the highway a few days ago to visit family, and I noticed real quick that diesel will always go up first,
Right.
and it was hitting 5.99 at some of the gas stations. And then a friend of mine just posted, and of course this is America, and his regular gas is 5.16. So. Yeah, I think people are sticker shock. I was sticker shock yesterday. I went to the grocery store to get half a gallon of milk and bread, a loaf of bread. No big labels, no special made bread, just a loaf of bread, $10.49.
Wow.
Hmm.
I couldn't believe I had to take a picture of the screen when it rung it up because I get the same stuff every week, right? I'm not a big eater and I just buy the same things every week. And I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. $10.49, 10.50 basically, after tax for two items, that a half a gallon, not even a full gallon. And Sasha, this is disturbing because I just don't think that there was any security or safety
Mhm.
reasons to go to war. I think that we've become the terrorists, the United States have. And I think that we need to invest, it needs to be stopped. It needs to be stopped, and we need to apologize. And expect nobody's apologized for 150 girls being blown up. My God, be a man. Step up and go, oops, we made a mistake. Okay? I
Yeah,
don't
that's
think
all
you
what we
did. I think it was intentional. But I'm, man up. Okay? You killed 150 girls. Show some empathy. Have you seen one empathy word out of his mouth?
never, never
No.
in his life. Yeah.
If Obama hadn't made that, his people had made that accident, which we wouldn't be in this war if it was Obama. But if anything like that would have happened, Obama would have come and addressed the nation with tears in his eyes. Whether it was fake or not, I don't know. But Bush would have done it. I mean, heck, I think they would have executed whoever did the bombing. But I'm just saying, it's ironic to me to sit here and watch people claim to be people of God, and they're cheering this on. I don't think Iranians. They've had their problems forever. I don't think we should be going back in time from 47 years ago, a revenge on something. My God, if that's the case, all you MAGAs, I hope your wives hold everything over your head past your death and hold it against you.
If you could wait 47 years, why wouldn't you hold 57 years or 77 years? Why would you need it to do now?
I think Trump did this. Everyone said to cover up the Epstein files. I think it was getting close to that, but I think it was to also cover up all of his military, internal domestic military police activities with ICE. We now have a new director over that. Noam is gone, and we didn't like Noam, but sometimes your next replacement is worse. So, and I don't even know if he's been approved yet. I got pulled aside on things. But what the other troubling thing is, I canceled going to Sierra Week. I have gone for 10 years. This event, being world leaders from everywhere, I get to sit and listen from the horse's mouth, basically, about everything in oil, gas, and energy. I've heard so many stories about all the nuclear power plants that would just curl your hair. But the thing is I would never cancel that, because it's a special invite, and it's an honor to get to sit into this. I canceled it for fear of two things: the airports and airplanes, because the Iranians, they are walking ticking time bombs, and they don't mind being suicide bombs. But if they can't get on a plane, they're going to go to the next best area, and that's the mass people trying to board a plane. And they've already been proving that. They've had to shut down airports 2 or 3 times. Our TSA is shut down anyway. So, but then it's dangerous for me, in my mind, to attend the world leaders of oil, gas, and energy meeting, because Iranian was one of the world leaders in gas, oil, and energy.
Yeah.
Who's to say they're not going to go bomb that? So,
well, we're going to get a chance to play one of our enemies in sports. I think that's happening later on this evening.
There you go.
Isn't it the USA against Venezuela in baseball? I think that's who's playing in the finals, because Venezuela beat Italy, and I know Venezuela.
Is Venezuela allowed to play? I don't know. I mean,
they played so far, and they're going for the world championship. It's USA against Venezuela.
I heard that Trump made a threat to the Iranian team, so I don't know. So
you may make a threat to the Venezuelan team.
You know that Germany already made some statement about the upcoming World Cup in US, that under the situation which is developing right now, they don't feel safe, and they are going to question their participation in this world event, because it's just becoming too risky, too cumbersome. Also, it's not just a question of a team and its coaches and administrators, it's also the fans who wants to come and see the soccer, and the fans will not be allowed, because it's I remember when you would go to US, and you wouldn't even need the passport, you need driver's license, and you're going through. Oh, today you have to fill a special form which costs $30 per person. And then you have to, sometimes fingerprints are being taken from Canadians. It is becoming so cumbersome, and it takes 40 minutes of your time to talk to an agent, and you don't know whether you are going through or not. So because you may lose your ticket, you don't even buy expensive business class ticket, you buy the cheapest one, because you will not be allowed to go through. So you will go back, so you will lose $150 instead of $2,500.
Yeah, they play later on today. The championship game is at midnight. It looks like it's at 12 a.m. No, I'm sorry, it's at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. So, on Fox. So it'll be later on tonight at 8 p.m. So, Jatovi, you follow sports and everything. Is this going to be a major conflict and everything like that? Because we're going against one of our major enemies. It's the World Politics Show, and the game for the World Baseball Cup is Venezuela against USA. So how's this going to play? What is Trump going to say about this?
I mean, that's not – I think what Sasha was just talking about with the World Cup, that's bigger, because
how can you compare? The World Cup is being watched by 4 or 5 billion people at any given day.
And don't get me wrong, the World Baseball Classic is great, but I don't think that's going to be nobody's really going to say much about it. because again, Trump has already threatened the Iranian soccer team. So yeah, so that's right. Who's going to want to come to the U.S. to, the Iranian soccer team doesn't want to come. The people who support them don't want to come. They're not going to be welcome. There are how many countries now on a list that can't come to the U.S. where their team is actually playing in the World Cup. Right. So it's just, and I'm not even talking about Iran. There are other countries on that list where their team is playing in the actual World Cup game, but they can't come to the U.S. to support their team because they're on a ban list.
Would that mean that if nobody showed up, the U.S. defaults as the champion? Maybe that's why Trump did all of this.
It's now serious considerations to
I'm being picky.
World Championship games between Canada and Mexico and eliminate U.S. altogether. If this trend will continue, this war with Iran and also the world calamity, and I wouldn't go as far as to suggest that all World Cups should be cancelled, because during Second World War, the World Cup was cancelled. If you look at the schedule, whoever were champions, the Italy was champion in 34 and 38, and 42 and 46, there were no World Soccer Championships. The next one was in Brazil in 1950, which was won by Uruguay. And then it was every 4 years from that point on. So who knows? It could be that we will not have this. And the financial losses for this would be incredible. Some economies will crash because of that, because so much money has been invested, the television rights, the producers, everybody else is online right now. It's going to be a tragic event if this would have to be either cancelled or redirected to Canada. And Canada and Mexico just said that, yes, we have no problems to host all games. Okay? They have enough stadiums, enough infrastructure to do that. But I don't know, what Trump is doing is so counterproductive at all points, including sport, science, culture, just anything. It's all counterproductive.
But he doesn't care. He's got his own agenda. I do have a question to ask both of you, or everybody here. At what point did we stop worrying about people's crimes that were committed ages ago? Because I know there was that famous case of the gentleman that was convicted of a race crime here in the United States, and that was a few years ago. And now I'm seeing that in the Congo area, they're actually going to ask the Belgian ex-diplomat to stand trial. So this is a 93-year-old former Belgian diplomat that is ordered on Tuesday to stand trial over the 1961 killing of Congolese independence icon Patrice Lumumba. So we're going to bring somebody to jail. That's 60 years after the fact and everything like that. So I guess he was in his 30s at the time, but they're going to bring him to trial and everything. So what is our thoughts around this notion of bringing somebody to trial so many years after the fact?
Well, there are many cases where people in Germany involved in Holocaust crimes, they were brought to trial 60 years later and even more. Some people were already 90-some years old and they stand trial and died during the trial or shortly after the trial. So there's nothing unusual about it. The crime is a crime. The crime has to be punished.
Exactly. I mean, you have cold cases for a reason. I mean, you seek justice. That's what we're supposed to be about. If it's delayed, it's delayed, but you get the justice that you're seeking for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I mean, there's statute of limitations for some reasons, but I agree with you. A crime is a crime. And if you committed a crime and the evidence is discovered at a later date, then I think that evidence should be able to be used to serve justice, because we don't get any justice anymore.
And it looks like this family's been looking for justice for a while.
Mark, even if you take it the opposite direction, what happened with the 6 that were exonerated
Right.
Or I'm sorry, the Central Park Five that got exonerated
Right.
years afterwards. That's, I mean, it's the same thing, but it's in reverse. That's the polar opposite. But yeah, and
And you got folks like Trump who don't believe that that was justice. He claims that that was a misjustice, even though he's just totally insane in that area. But he's insane in a lot of areas.
Let's just throw that out there. But I think one of the things, getting back to the war, that we need to take a look at is the deployment of more military soldiers, the draft that they are establishing. That of course they're saying from 16 to 39. The only way to get out of the draft if you are declared mentally disabled or some kind of physical disability that prevents you.
Like Trump who dodged the draft for so many years.
Well, they said that they have doctors on call right now, ready to write letters of bone spurs. So.
No, just so I can understand. I'm way past that age, but I do have nephews that are in that age. Now, are we talking about a lottery, or are we talking about a? How are they talking about bringing this draft about? Because I do have a 17
but
and
for
an 18.
the draft right now, from what I've been hearing, this is just my rumors. This isn't David Walker's security clearance. I do have security clearance, but I haven't used it, and I might go re-up my UN pass just so I can go in, because I'll be there next week. I'll be in Washington, D.C. speaking with 5 senators next week with Irene Parker, which is very exciting. And I have to mind my manners and not bring up all of this political stuff. But I think that the draft, from what I have been hearing, is going to be more about, from 16 to 39. If you're healthy, of course, they're going to be very prejudiced on this realm. But I think that the elite will be able to get their children out of it. And it's just, they said that it's presently voluntary, but I have a feeling in the very near future we're going to see it being more of mandatory. It's not going to be voluntary. What I have learned from the draft, from my brother-in-law and family that were a lot older than me and who lived through the other wars and the drafts, it is better to go register in what military branch you want to be in than to wait for them to draft you. If you're going to go into the military anyway, go ahead and get it done now. I spoke with a young kid the other day, and he did that. He said, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to go. I didn't encourage him either way. I was just listening. And he went ahead and registered in the Marines. He said because he wanted to pick his direction rather than wait for them to pick for him. Mm-hmm. But, to me, there's nothing worse than being put in the position that we're in because it wasn't necessary. It wasn't. There was no security measures breach. We weren't put in any imminent danger whatsoever. They did not possess weapons of mass nature that could have harmed us. Now, they could have probably harmed other countries, but not us. We're too far away. And their drones will keep us at bay for a while, but we blew up their ships.
I mean,
we destroyed the ocean.
Interesting thing, they've already come up with an excuse of why Barron can't be drafted. They're saying that he's too tall, which is dumb. That's dumb.
He said that the first day.
That is so dumb when we've had basketball players like David Robinson that are taller than Byron.
I know. Also, David Robinson served. Woo, I loved him.
But this is what gets me about. I love David to death, but he dropped the whole security clearance thing to say that he knows a little bit more about we are putting troops on the ground.
Well, Sasha brought up the point that the hospitals in Germany are, and they're asking for more blood. I mean, why would they be doing that?
But I mean, it's just you don't need security clearance to see the obvious. They're sending 2,500 Marines on a boat to the area. They're going to Iran to take over the island over there that is the big golden hub that Iran's, getting refueled. Well, gets most of their oil and everything
Yeah,
out of it. That's
Sasha
their
and
big.
But
Jonathan
wait
were
a
talking about
second.
that
To
earlier.
get to that island, don't they have to go through Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, they have to go through the Strait of Hormuz, and now they're asking for the help of other nations to
But
come
nobody's
in and
helping them.
escort the ships. Their thing is we've taken down, the U.S. says we've taken out all of their ships. Right now, if anyone passes through, they're going to get shot at because it's a narrow passage, right? It's very
Absolutely.
narrow passage. But yeah, you have to go through. It's like a toll booth, right?
But
So
there are two countries that are going through Strait of Hormuz unharmed. It's India and China. Guess what?
go
They
figure.
are going back and forth through Strait of Hormuz. No other nations can do. What they said, Iranians, is that in order to be eligible to go through Strait of Hormuz, you have to evict all American bases from your country,
Well,
and then we will allow you to move.
one of the things that was concerning to me, and I don't know that it's good or bad, but when Hegseth opened his update to the nation about the war, he said the stars and stripes and the 5 star of David are now flying together, that their symbol is with ours now. And we are not supposed to be fighting other people's wars. We're just not. That is not our mission. Israel had, I think, things under control. I don't think we needed to go in and blow things up for them. For whatever reason, Trump wanted to do it before they did. I think Israel was going to do their own and do well. Israel is one of the most powerful
I
weapons.
think there was no planning of things happened as soon as on Monday, February 23rd, Trump informed Netanyahu that on Saturday, on 28th, there will be a huge meeting, including Ayatollah Khamenei and his family members and all his advisors and so on. So that was kind of a very opportune situation for Israel to strike. I don't know why America needed that, but Israel definitely needed. And when they heard about it from Trump, they immediately start saying, okay, we are going to act on Saturday morning. So that's what happened. In the meantime, I just don't understand one thing. Trump is now saying that nobody could imagine that they will start to attack our air bases and drop weapons on the hotels in Abu Dhabi and the Dubai and all those places. How could they? Nobody thought about it. You are commander in chief. You are not complete idiot. So you have to understand that somehow, one way or another, Iranians will retaliate. And Iranians, many months before what's happened, they were saying that they will attack American bases, they will attack the Gulf states or so on. So they are doing exactly what they were saying for a while.
So the reason why the U.S. jumped in, there are multiple reasons. I mean, Israel, don't get me wrong, Israel has a stout military and has all the stuff. However, they would have isolated themselves had they gone in on Iran by themselves.
Agreed.
So the U.S. coming in, Netanyahu is using the idea, the mystique, and the mythos, and the extra military might of the U.S. So then Israel's not isolated in that, or he's not isolated and seen as, not only what's going on in Gaza, but now he's going after Iran and bombing everything all by himself. That would have isolated Israel and put them in danger even more.
I think what's happened is that the U.S. encouraged Israel to start this attack, saying, don't worry, you start and we are going right in.
But here's the other part. Because Trump wants people to praise him, say how great he is and how smart he is, how brilliant he is. He thought, with no planning, no nothing, he was going to go in, take out the Ayatollah, and everything was going to be great because he took out Maduro. And look, you don't have to talk about Venezuela because Maduro's not there anymore. Well, they're still killing people in Venezuela. they didn't really do regime change. All they did was just take out Maduro, but left the vice president and the whole staff there. So they didn't do anything in Venezuela. But it took Maduro's name off the top. So MAGA got so excited, and we love Trump because he stopped Maduro. They don't even know what Maduro really did. So what he thought is that the Ayatollah, take out the Ayatollah, and everybody's gonna do the same. Iran's gonna capitulate. They're gonna bow down. Everybody's gonna cheer my name. Yeah, Trump was easily manipulated, and he went to war because he wanted glory. That's all he wanted, and he doesn't realize how much of an idiot he is.
Well, we'll see what kind of glory he will have after midterm elections, and especially once he will no longer be a president. And you will see all his glory will go down the drain through lawsuits, through impeachments, through all kinds of things. It's all still ahead of him.
Well, there's a thing called a hanging tree in Texas that they might be taking him to once they find out he's a pedophile. Please make sure you kind of join me every once in a while on Tuesdays to discuss the Epstein file cases, because I did find the files that were unredacted. They're redacted now, but I did manage to find the cases. There were lawsuits that they used and correlated the research. But one of the things that I have found most astounding in all of this is the elections and how many Republicans are so stunned that they're not being voted, that people aren't voting the same people back into office. And recently, Berger was so upset, Phil Berger, that he demanded a recount of the votes, including the people who died just before the election, and he wanted to determine how they would have voted. I am like, are you kidding me? Now, this was a news story, not Entertainment Today. This was my local radio station. I'm driving home, and I'm like drinking something and spewed it all over my dashboard because it's like, and I want a recount of even all the dead people who died, that how they would have voted. I want to know. I've been cheated. I have been. So it's like Trump all over again, and who's it from Texas? There's a few people that aren't getting reelected in Texas, and they're demanding recounts and reevaluation of the voting system. So I have a feeling if they would just get up and own up and take accountability for some of the stuff that's going on and stop being about a party and being about the people and stop the war, stop the madman in office. I mean, he's not even talking right. I know I stumble a lot, but have you been listening? And it's not AI altered.
It's a speech of 12 years old guy. It's not the president's speech, really.
He's not even speaking normal anymore. And in fact, this one kid came on a post and he was playing back the video and he goes, yeah, I don't mean to be disrespectful to my dad. My dad had Alzheimer's. It won't be long. So, because the way he's attacking Gavin, right? He can't even pronounce his name properly. I have a hard time too. But I mean, he's just babbling now. He's just babbling. And he's going to have a serious meltdown. This is going to be interesting to watch because he screwed up our country with COVID, on TV. And he's screwing up our country with these wars. A man who came in and said he's going to stop wars. He's not going to start wars. Starting wars with Iran is a stupid president. That's a president who doesn't know how to negotiate. No one would go to war with Iran. For a man who just ran it on in his campaign, everything's been a lie. And people still support him. Well, actually, no, I've realized MAGA must have really made a big mistake recently. And I'm just trying to uncover what it is, because now they're like posting all of these flaws of Obama. And I'm like, really? We're going back to Obama term? I mean, that's a long time ago. And now you're pointing out flaws of, well, he did this. Well, you know what? When I was growing up, if you sat there and said, "Well, Mama, he did this, so I'm going to do it," yeah, my mom would have slapped the crap out of me or told me to walk off a cliff with him. You know, you there. But I realized something really bad must have happened because they're starting to point blame at Obama now, and
No,
that's
they were trying to talk
disturbing.
about Obama's walk, which is makes no sense because they were saying it was unpresidential, whatever that means, and everything like that. So they were making some crazy accusations about his walk, just like they were talking about Biden's falls, just
Well,
like
no, their post recently is very racist, if you ask me. And in fact, I kind of slammed somebody for their recent post about Obama, and I won't be part of that family anymore, and that's fine with me because anyone who would post something so horrific like that, I don't want to be a part of their life. But that's what a lot of this is bringing down is this war has divided us, not united us. And that's the difference between Trump in politics and any other president we've ever had. And most of the presidents in the time of war send a message. They unite the people in the act of war. And instead, we have a president who just does whatever he wants, whenever he wants. He blows up things like the little boy Blue would sit there and blow his horn. And he's blowing up things like a little boy, rather than a man of honor. Because our military used to be a military of defense, a military of honor. And now you have made us terrorists. And instead of uniting us under the umbrella of defense of the United States, you have divided a country. He doesn't deserve the Nobel Peace Prize until the day he dies, of which then I will hang that medal on his grave and say, our world is at peace.
Finally. Well, I guess all people have to unite in midterm elections and get control of the House and the Senate, and then do the right thing, get America right, instead of waiting for another 2 years until there will be new elections. But I want to tell you that I feel that this is a question where democracy doesn't exist just by itself. It has to be fought out for. You have to fight for democracy. You have to make sure that you will have access to election booths, that there will be no manipulations, and so on. So this is an ongoing process, and you have to be mindful of that.
Sure. I mean, and you're right. We don't fight with weapons. We fight with our votes and our words and our actions of getting out there and voting and removing the people who have caused the problem. Republican Representative Carlos Gimenez made a statement that has just been troubling me for quite some time. I kept a clip of his video, and he said that, he admitted that the Republicans made a big mistake with ICE and that they did everything wrong, and that now the Democrats, and this wording was just so weird, the Democrats will be forced to clean up our mess. And this was in an interview. And I'm like, how is it that nobody is seeing the truth of this? That he knows. And yet, even as a Republican in office, and he makes these statements, he has not made one move to remove the problem. Not one. Nobody wants to accept accountability. And this is disturbing. This is very disturbing, Sasha.
Well, I guess, Kim, once midterm election would provide Americans with the House and the Senate under Democratic control, you will see how many lawsuits and how many impeachments. Not just Trump, there are a lot of people in his cabinet that would have to be impeached. And that machine will start working from the day one, as soon as right after this. But again, the Democrats have to do everything according to the book to get that successfully done. They have to understand that what they have to fight for the right result. It's not going to come by itself.
That is so true. I mean, and the thing is we have to do it at the voting booth. And I think that you're going to see a change in how people vote, and maybe they'll start voting for people instead of parties. Because I'm not going to say everyone in the Democratic Party is right either. We've got problems.
Agreed.
But I think that what we need to start doing is taking a closer look at the person and what their values are and what their agenda is. Because in many cases, you just see the top layer of their agenda. You don't see everything that's going on. But we're wrapping up at the near end of the hour. Sasha, what would you say to the world as to where we are today with the war, and where do you think it's going to be in the next week?
I think that Trump will try to see if all that could be settled through help of maybe even China, maybe Putin, maybe some other power, because he should understand by now that there is no way for him to win this war. He can continue the bombardment of Iran every day from 9 to 5 or from 10 to 8. It doesn't matter, because whatever the targets that he's hitting now, they were already bombed 2 days ago, 5 days ago. So there's no new damage is being inflicted. Iranians get hidden all their drones and missiles, and they have it in abundance. They have some missiles that we even are not aware of how powerful they are and how high they can or how far they can fly. So this war is unwinnable war. It is not, because you have to see, like before there was a chance that it would be uprising of Iranians who hate the Ayatollah, right? But now, since Ayatollah is dead, so there is no one there to hate. So there is no unifying figure that Iranians would rise up against. There is none. If they will rise against somebody, it will be Americans, because they killed the Ayatollah, because they keep bombing every day Iran. So there is no one else to unite against. It's just the U.S. So this is unwinnable war. It will be much worse than Vietnam. Remember that in Vietnam, America has incredible advantage in all in the air and in the troops on the ground and so on. So it's time to think if you can. If not, then you might as well use Article 25 and just put him in asylum and just get rid of him.
I think that what we are doing, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And I think in another week, we will not be able to do any air travel anywhere because of the TSA going down. But also, it's going to be too dangerous. Put your families first, people. Look over your shoulders, because there were a lot of angry Iranians, and they are walking, ticking time bombs. They are suicide weapons that they don't care whether they live or die. And the United States just killed 150 of their children. That is like hitting a bee's nest. And I just think that we wounded ourselves on that day. And we need to take control of the country and show Iranian that in the world, not just the Iranians, that we're not going to tolerate leadership like this. So I hope we unite under good morals and go back to being a country that defends, not starts wars. Until next week, everyone, stay safe, please. Thank you, Sasha, for joining us from Canada.
Thank you.
I know that you spend a lot of time on our shows, and I appreciate it. And everyone, stay healthy so you stay wealthy, and we'll see you next week, Tuesday, on World Politics at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to watch Sasha's update on the Ukrainian and Israel wars on Tuesdays and Fridays. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.